whether strange or realistic, what it does feel like is this is this is his concluding monologue, and he's got to bring it, and that sense of urgency that, like, look, people, the stakes are very, very high, and yeah, that's what.
Well, and since when is he a prophet? I mean, that's not the capacity of leadership to which he's been called so far.
To prophesy the future.
No, Moshe's not a prophet. Right. He's a somewhat failed leader, died, authority figure.
Right, and a relayer of
information on
right.
tablets.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Since when is he a prophet?
Right.
He wants to go out big, though.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, it's maybe he's been transmitting. He's been kind of the vessel that Hashem has chosen. Yeah, but now maybe I don't know. Maybe he's feeling his oats a little bit here at the end, and he's getting a little Jeremiah on us. But yeah, I mean, I think that. I mean, I guess just a little kind of a tangent, but he in that effort, I guess, to really bring it and communicate, he's kind of validating the vast importance of everything he said before. I guess is that this is how big it is, by kind of laying out the consequences of success or failure. But the whole, I can't help but. And we're all coming to this with our own windows and shutting down. Yeah,
it's going to stop back up. There were some problems. We're still live on the...
Okay. I'm not, we're all coming to it with our own kind of conceptual baggage. And for me, it's funny, I know that they're talking about us when he says that the covenant is made not with the people who are there at Sinai at the time, but with those who are standing, those who are not here. And traditionally, I think I'm sure the Art Scroll commentary is that, well, that means you people, that means me. And I'm just, my honest reaction to that is just, no. I
don't feel bound by this.
I've been brainwashed by ideas like informed consent, and I'm not really interested in passing on the, responsibility for the decisions I make in my own life to anyone else, and certainly not to the guy who's telling us that having strength of your convictions is the route to perdition. So no, I'm just not interested. It doesn't mean I'm not interested in anything in the book, but I'm not. No one has established a covenant on my behalf. If they thought they were doing that, sorry.
You often hear in modern times, think for yourself, and it's just there's nothing in this book about thinking for yourself.
Right, well, and thinking for yourself is not an easy thing to do. We're social animals, and we get all sorts of cues from the people around us. But
well, we get the social cue now that we're supposed to think for ourselves. That's like the modern thing to do.
But that's not...
Since the Enlightenment.
I think that's such a Jewish thing, though. I think that's
but
a very
little
thing. I think it's here.
Where?
I think the notion of covenant is evolving. I think that just the way in which Torah is constructed forces us to think for ourselves. It's like retellings of the same stories over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel... I mentioned this the other day. I mean, I do kind of feel the same way. There's... What I mentioned before was just the way, maybe this is a cliche, but just the way that the Talmud is laid out with the Mishnah, and then you have the Gemara around it, and there's lots of interpretations, and they have the confidence to say, Teku, we're not going to agree on this. We'll have to wait till, the guy who knows everything comes and tells us the answers. So there is a kind of a discourse thing that's really... The tradition seems to generate. I mean, I feel like that was part of what I got from it growing up. And yet at the same time, when I read the Torah, I see very, very little incitement to that sort of behavior.
But is it not possible that Torah is full of examples of what not to do, of how not to behave, of how not to establish a covenant? I mean, I'm just, in the spirit of turn it and turn it, there's always another way. I just wonder if, since when are Jews literalists? when it comes to reading the Bible. Since when are we literalists?
Right.
So why are we going to...
But if you just take this text at face value...
What does that mean, though? What does that mean to take it at face value?
Well, Moses is telling the Israelites what to do. There's nothing in there about thinking for yourself. There's nothing in the text about thinking for yourself. It's a modern Goyish notion that you've been infected with, that you're reading back into the text.
You can't take this text out of context, though. You can't do that. I mean, the pushing here is actually two. I mean, we've got. Well, I'm in the wrong book, but Deuteronomy 29, but then Deuteronomy 30 is said to be a later addition. Right. But we're looking at them together, so we've just kind of spliced them together because we want to look at them in this way.
Right.
Well, why this splicing? Why not something else? Why?
So you don't think the splicing is authoritative?
No, I do. But I also think that we have to be aware of the context, the larger context.
I certainly agree with that. I guess I've said many times before, I have no objection to anything that's here because I'm willing to look at it contextually, and the only question that matters to me now is what do you do with it? This was written and codified and spliced at a time where people's concerns were very different from my own.
Testing!
But what I guess what I react negatively to is the pretense in all traditions. It's just as bad among the Orthodox as it is among the more non-Orthodox denominations. This essentialist thing that everyone hits you with, which is that this is what it says and this is what it always meant, and that's too much of there's a lot of people who don't do that, but they don't present it. I mean, if you're in an Orthodox shul, they're not interested in examining the context in which 29 and 30 were put next to one another. This is the perfect word of a big boss. I mean, that's essentially how they approach it. I think. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's divine, and
right.
It's perfect.
It's divine and it's perfect. So it's.
But that's true. That's true. But the question is, what does that mean? What does perfect mean? So to be perfect, I mean, I see this as full of contradictions. I mean, I think that's what makes, Hebrew Bible here. I think that's what makes it the greatest text in the history of the world.
Right.
I mean, because of all the contradictions that make it, in some way make sense. I mean, that's the point.
But that's a very sophisticated way of looking at it, and I can appreciate that. But that's not. Someone who can look at it and say, look, part of the greatness of this text is that it is rife with contradictions, and that the resolution is always going to be ambiguous, and I mean that is not what goes on from the people who people make decisions today, not based on that. The people who think they live this book. They make decisions about how they organize their communities and what behavior, how to behave, how to live. Not based on that approach, based on the idea that there are very correct answers and very wrong answers, and that's really all there is, and we're and there are human consequences to that.
So with your reading, Monica, how do you determine which things you'll abide by and which things you won't?
She follows the will of her own heart, I bet.
I'm one of those who fancies himself immune in verse 18.
Right. Yeah.
Stone her.
Right.
Stone her. Do a live stoning right here on the cab.
Well, not immune. Is it immune from the influence of it? I bet not. But immune from their.
No, if it says keep the Sabbath, or if it says don't worship idols, or it says don't mix linen and wool, how do you know when to abide by it, and how do you know when not to?
I mean, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to tell you what I think according to this text?
No,
I'm tell you how I really feel.
Yeah, tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, because how I really feel is, I hate to say it's a matter of the heart, because that sounds really cliche.
But it's a matter of the heart.
I've just been reading your favorite. I've been reading an old essay by Emmanuel Levinas that was just recently translated into English in the past couple of years. And he talks about how when it comes to ritual, it's not It's the actual act of carrying it out.